Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more slug testing, and today we've got a very interesting combo to try out. It's one that I definitely have some high hopes in, and a number of you guys have requested it, so I'm definitely excited to see what it can do because I think we've got some serious potential for some really nice accuracy results. We've seen some good performances from both this shotgun and this load before, but we haven't tested them together, so I hope it works out the way that I think it should anyway. But as for the shells I brought today, I got out some of these. The Remington Premier AccuTip Sabot slugs, but these are a 12 gauge, 2 3/4 inch, 385 grain slug at about 1850 feet per second. We have tested these a while back on the channel through my rifled Remington 870, and these are one of the favorite loads in that shotgun. So if that one likes it, I'm willing to bet that today's shotgun will probably also like them. But for today's shotgun, I brought out the Savage 212. This is a bolt action 12 gauge shotgun, fully rifled, 22-inch barrel, so it's essentially set up just like a rifle. I've got a Vortex Crossfire HD 3-9x40 on top, and since this is one of Savage's little bit higher end models, it does indeed have the AccuTrigger in it as well, and the barrel is completely free floated from the stock in here as well. You can slip a dollar bill all the way down to the front edge of the receiver. So this is a really nice shotgun, and it's shown us several very nice results so far. And I believe that some of the accuracy testing and accuracy claims that Savage puts on these shotguns is using the Remington AccuTip loads. So if anything's going to perform well together, it probably should be these two. So for today's test, we're going to run it the same as we usually do. I have a very limited amount of these slugs to work with, unfortunately, so we're going to shoot our usual two groups, one at 50 yards and another at 100 yards. All of them will be through the chronograph as well, so we can be getting our velocity. Might not be the ideal, most scientific test, but it's going to tell us if this is a good performing combo at all. Of course, the barrel will have time to cool down for 8 or 10 minutes or so while I move cameras and move the target out to 100 yards and stuff. Heat should not be an issue. We do have a little bit of a breeze that's on and off today, so I'm going to try my best to work around that so that way our target isn't moving and stuff. But overall, we should be able to get a pretty good idea on what this combo is capable of. So let's get you guys a view of those targets. We'll shoot our two groups and then see what this 212 is actually capable of with these Remington Premier AccuTip loads. Okay, so we'll run through our velocities real quick before we look at our target. Boss claim is 1850. We did not see that. It looked like we were running a little bit over 1600, and we do have a 22-inch barrel. You can find 24-inch slug barrels, but they rarely really get longer than that. So maybe Remington was a little bit overzealous with their claim here, because I would have thought we would have seen close to their boss claim from this 22-inch barrel. But we had a high of 1693, a low of 1595. That gave us an average of 1651, so 199 feet per second below their boss claim. I definitely wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more, considering our setup today, but that's an extreme spread of 98 and a standard deviation at 34. So they weren't the most consistent things either. Not the worst we've seen, but definitely not the best either. But at an average of 1651, here's your muzzle energy for a 385 grain slug at that number. Obviously, that's still going to do the job perfectly fine for any average deer hunt, bear hunt scenario, whatever the case would be. It's going to do the job, and I can attest it does kill deer very quickly. So although we are 200-ish feet per second below their boss claim, it would still be adequate for sure. But how accurate were they? Let's go check it out and see. Okay, so here we have our target, and we definitely see some pretty solid looking results. I don't think these are the best slug that we've tested from that 212 so far before we ever even measure anything, but they're not the worst either. This would absolutely do the job just fine, and from what I can remember, it looks pretty similar to what these did through my Remington 870 as well. So this might be about the normal for these particular slugs. We still need to try the 3-inch ones as well, but at least it seems like we're getting pretty consistent accuracy across the board every time we test the 2 3/4 Remington Premier AccuTips. But we'll start over here on the left with our 50-yard group. We had 3 of them that were just about touching each other. There's a little bit of space between them. And at 50, although that is absolutely good enough, usually we're just about stacking them in the same hole with that gun. So a little bit more open spread there, but I think it might have held it out to 100 yards. But that 50-yard group gave us 1.54 inches, so 1.5 inches at 50 is pretty middle of the road accuracy based on what we've seen from some other slugs through that gun. But moving out over here to the right with our 100-yard group, I think it's probably going to be about 3 inches. So it pretty much adds up. If we had 1.5 over here, about 3 inches is what I would expect at 100. And as you can see here as well, not very much bullet drop. So out to 100 yards or so, they're pretty flat shooting overall. And just like I thought, 3.17 inches at 100 yards. So we went from 1.5 to just a hair over 3. That definitely makes sense. And usually I like to see 3 inches or better at 100 from my slug guns. And that's right there at it. If you can shoot a 100-yard group about the size of your fist with a slug gun, that's pretty solid. Although that 212 is definitely capable of better for sure. So it seems like these AccuTips through that 212 are pretty much just baseline average. They would be plenty good enough to do the job for sure, but we can get better, and we have seen better. But there are an awful lot of slug guns out there that shoot way worse than that and take deer out to 100 yards every fall, so I wouldn't hesitate to hunt with that combo at all. That's going to do the job for my needs. So now maybe I need to get some of the 3-inch versions as well and see if there's any difference there, because maybe those might shoot a little bit better, who knows. But not terrible overall. I would say it's perfectly solid for what it is. And here are a few of the Sabots that I picked up off the range from those slugs. All of them look exactly the same, so very consistent performance here. Very typical Remington stuff. You can see we had average amount of rifling engagement, and they all opened up the exact same amount, so nothing out of the ordinary that I wouldn't expect to see here. Alright y'all, well, what do you think about those results right there? They're going to do the job just fine. If you put that shot where it needs to be at 100 yards, the deer is going to go down, no doubt about it. I can tell you that those AccuTip slugs have some very nice terminal performance as well. I have personally shot a couple deer with them now over the last several years from my Remington 870, and they absolutely drop the hammer. They're a bonded slug, so copper jacket, lead core, and they do the job. And with that kind of accuracy, it would be more than adequate for anything I would need it for when it comes to slug gun purpose anyway. So even though it may not be the best result we've ever seen from that particular 212, I wouldn't hesitate to use it out there in the field. And us seeing very similar results from what we saw with these through my 870 seems like that is the pretty consistent result as well through a couple different platforms. So they definitely have that going for them. Now we should probably test the 3-inch versions and see if they're any different. They could be better, they could be worse, who knows? But I definitely think it's worth a shot. But you can leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Remington AccuTip loads? And if so, what kind of results have you seen? With that kind of accuracy result, is that a combo you would take out hunting? Or would you still prefer to see it a little bit better than that even? And maybe what other slugs do you want to see me run through that 212? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All the information will be in the description if you're interested in it. But I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.